Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Show. I'm Dave McKeag. He's Alex Parr. The difference between Alex and I right now is he's kind of clean shaven compared to myself right now. Why?
I missed the memo for Movember.
Oh, wow. Love it. See, it is Movember. I'm doing it. I'm going to do the stash business. I'm going to get rid of this, though. I'm going to make a nice maybe Mobius mustache, maybe a handlebar one. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, Alex.
I'm not going to do that, and I will save your eyes how atrocious that mustache of mine would be.
There you go. See, I usually donate. It's obviously for a great cause with Movember, so I wanted to participate this year and actually do it. Boy, is it ever itchy. But anyways, we got sports to talk about.
When we say action-packed show, my goodness.
Do we ever?
Head coach of the Sioux Greyhounds.
Yep.
On the show today.
Yep.
Gold medalist Brad Jacobs.
On the show today.
I mean, come on.
In the pocket, as always on the show.
Always.
NHL talk on the show.
You name it.
Anything you want, we're talking about here today, and you've come to the right place to get your sports news, especially locally in the Sioux, because we are the Twin Sioux' only local regional national sports show. So I'm going to say right now that not much more you can look at after just reading that saying, no?
No, I'd have to agree completely.
The Game Sports Show, you can follow the show on Instagram, Facebook, and on our website, thegamesportshow.com. And obviously check us out through Sioux Online and on TV, especially on the YouTube channel. We're inside On TV studios. And as Alex, the one and only, the man that mentioned our agenda for the show, we're going to have NHL off the top. Brad Jacobs will be after the break. Sioux Greyhounds LSSU in part 3. We'll have local sports for part 4. And part 5 will be an In the Pocket segment. And as always, action-packed In the Pocket segment, which will segue us nicely into our show tomorrow from Sports Center Bar and Grill. So, Alex, you and I are going to get started to talk some hockey talk. Speaking of that hockey talk, pulling some toe drags, some dangles, some Forsbergs, some absolute sick goals.
Oh, my goodness.
We're going to be talking about that right now, right off the hop. Matthew Tkachuk, okay, we talked about this on the show yesterday from ESPN 1400. Don't be afraid to check that out on our Podbean page with Scott Nason, myself, EJ, and Butch Davis. But Matt Tkachuk's goal with the Calgary Flames, okay, was absolute sickness. Okay, when I watched this live, and when I saw it live, I literally fainted in my seat as you see that, like that. Okay, I'm going to tell you something for someone who has played hockey his whole life. Every hockey player practices this type of goal, despite if it's on a breakaway, just in the slot for fun, one-timers, different goals. They celebrate for fun with their teammates.
From the hash marks.
The difficulties of doing this video of this move is the difficulty is above a 10. Okay, I can tell you right now.
I can't believe how much power and accuracy he got on that shot from the hash marks off a rebound in like 5 seconds left in overtime.
Mid-stride.
And
that's what the hardest part of it is that mid-stride. And that mid-stride step to do that through the legs is harder than Svechnikov's goal with Carolina. I'm going to tell you right now, it's harder than his. Okay, when you're behind the net and you pick it up like that, it's not easy. It's not easy to do. Either one is not easy to do. But it's still the timing that Tkachuk had to do, the precision mid-stride, think of it and do it. Boom. Svechnikov knew behind the net, pick it up and go. He had the time to do that. Okay, and at the end of the day, for Tkachuk to pull that off, I've said it numerous times here, it's impressive, to say the least. And am I happy to see it? Yes, I am. Do I want to see more of it? Yes, I do. But does it matter what the score is in the game? Sort of. I know I had somebody named Don Cherry say hot dogs to a reference to the Hound game, but you know what? Alex, what do you think? How sick is that one, and are you happy to see it?
Oh my goodness. Disgusting is the only word I can say.
Yeah.
But like you say, goals like that, especially overtime winners, oh my goodness, that's the icing on the cake of a terrific comeback game. But I mean, if you are beating a team by 6, 7, 8 goals, take the foot off the pedal a little bit. Don't embarrass them because it could come back to bite you in the bottom like
I think that happens.
It did to the Sioux Greyhounds.
It did, and that goal went in, as the screen is saying right there, 1.4 on the clock is when it crossed the line. And that is, as I said, mid-stride to do. That is difficult to pull off and to think. That is basic hockey instinct right there. That is just, and then Brady Tkachuk and Keith Tkachuk, his brother and his father, stated how he did it, okay, when he was a child and growing up, and he's the flashier one is what Brady said. Okay, but I imagine Brady can pull that off.
Oh my goodness, yeah. If you saw me in net going up or on defense going up against Brady, yeah, I'm sure he could pull it off just fine.
I think so. Now, Matt Tkachuk, a great goal. I think it's better than Svechnikov says. Comment below which one you think is better, and if you like seeing it in the National Hockey League. I am a fan of seeing it, but much like Alex said, with appropriate professionalism.
Yes.
I'll call it with that. The next topic I want to jump into is in terms of Alex Ovechkin and his goal scoring totals. Oof. This has been a topic we've talked about this on the show previously last year, going into this year. Now it's a very heavily talked about in the world of sports about Alex Ovechkin still scoring goals. He has 1,100 games, 669 goals. Okay, he's over 500 on average of goals per game. Okay, and you got Wayne Gretzky, okay, who had 894 goals in 1,400 games. Okay, so all in all, Gretzky, if Ovechkin played as many games as Gretzky, scoring at the same pace, he would net 904 goals is what he would get.
Yeah, when I was looking up the stat and doing the math on it earlier, that's about 5 seasons of playing hockey still. And Ovechkin's 35-ish now, I believe.
Yep. Contracts right now, he's thinking Olympics next time, he's thinking Russia.
It's hard to score 40 goals at 40 years old.
Yep.
I would love to see one of the most untouchable records be broken. It's going to take a few miracles to happen, though. But fingers crossed. I mean, some of those records you see, not Ovechkin, but Gretzky set are untouchable. So I would love...
Points total is untouchable.
Yeah, I would love to see a modern-day player be able to eclipse it. I think Ovechkin's our best shot at it for a long, long time. But even so, it's going to be so hard for that to happen.
It is going to be. Now, I'll say right now, I don't think Ovechkin is going to catch it because just the amount of time that it takes. If he does, fantastic. And I just hope that Ovechkin does make it close, just to make it entertaining, give us more to talk about in terms of this. But I don't think he will come as close as people think. But he will be second all time. That is my prediction. I think that's pretty obvious to state with Ovechkin. Now, he scored a pretty nice goal himself, speaking of first goal. Remember when he played in Washington against Arizona?
Oh,
it was Phoenix at the time.
Over the head.
Over the head. That might be more difficult than Tkachuk's goal.
I think that's the best goal that's ever been scored in the NHL.
That might be. We can add that to that first comment that said to state. Now, the next thing I want to get to, I want to save a little bit of extra time for this because I was pretty ramped up about this.
Yeah,
I know we had our producer, Jacob Morris, shared with me a nice article. And I read into it more, and I've heard about this for the last couple of years, especially now since Seattle is expanding to the National Hockey League, name to be determined. Please be the Kraken. But the Toronto has been rumored to have a team in the area, a second team in the area. If it's Hamilton, if it's another Toronto in-city team, whatever it may be, they thought investors in Toronto would bring that forward. And I know there's a lot of articles out there that are saying that this would be a good idea, but Alex, before I answer and state why I don't want it to happen at this current time and why I don't think it should happen at this time, I'm going to go to you first about what you think about if another team should be in the National Hockey League in Toronto.
Well, it doubles Toronto's chance at winning a Stanley Cup, and I think at this point anything may help them. But all jokes aside, I'm not really too concerned about where it is. I'm more concerned about if you can put butts in seats. Lots of cities that you've mentioned too deserve cities more, or deserve a team more than Toronto does, because Toronto already has one.
Yep.
In New York, it's hard to see that the teams are all being supported throughout. I mean, you got New York Islanders, who have set the record for lowest attendance at times in years past.
Yep.
You've got the Sabres, who, if they're playing the Leafs or the Senators, those are home games for the Leafs and the Senators.
Yep.
So I don't really think we've seen a true test where they can survive. I mean, even look at Tampa Bay, Lightning, Panthers. You know where you're going.
Oil, water.
Right? But if there's hard evidence that the team could survive and it would help benefit the league has been growing so exponentially over the last little bit.
Yep.
And if it's only going to help the league grow, you should want it, I should want it, and every fan of the NHL should want it.
See, I want it, and I know the way I make it sound like it's not that I do. I think it's not an immediate decision that needs to be happening because there's other cities, like you alluded to. Seattle still has to happen, okay? Quebec. I would love to see the Nordiques come back. The battle between Montreal and Quebec, try to say it as properly as I can to get all the French appreciation out there. That rivalry, get that. That would be fantastic. I think there could be potential look in Houston before going to Toronto, another team in Houston. There's just an idea to shooting that out there, but there's still a couple other cities that could enforce and handle another team in the National Hockey League before I think it should go to Toronto. I know the NHL is going to look at Toronto and be like, this team makes a lot of money. Okay, the Leafs are an original 6 franchise, okay, along with the other original 6 players, okay, and they get high attendance. The Rangers, the Hawks, the Bruins, the Canadians, okay, the Wings and the Leafs, they get all the attendance, okay, and they have no problem getting fans in those seats. Okay, now when a new team comes to Toronto, it would be based out of Hamilton, I would imagine. I think that'd be the most centralized location for it.
Yeah, I think going downtown Toronto would be the bad call there.
Oh, it'd be a horrible call.
Yeah.
That'd be a worse call than almost putting a team in Florida. I don't know. And there's also Markham. And I'm sorry, I'm just joking towards Florida. I feel like there's other markets that can support a team. And all jokes aside, there's a lot of markets like Arizona and Florida that have been in the area of, they don't get butts in the seats. The Islanders, right? You tested on the New York point about having multiple teams in there. And really, Florida, if they win, they will get butts in the seats, especially if they make the playoffs. But in the season, a lot of people don't go to it. Leafs, you go to a Scotiabank Arena, you can hear a pin drop during the season in there, but in the playoffs, you ain't hearing nothing in there, especially outside. So I'll say right now, you're going to go Toronto, there's Hamilton and Markham, right? But I think there's other cities you have to explore, as I mentioned before, doing that. So this is something that will happen 20 years from now. So I'm 28. When I'm 48 years old, I think you might see this option be more of an option because maybe you have 33, 4, maybe some other cities will be in there by then, and the NHL will be at the max profit at that time.
Yeah, and I mean, the league's also mulled around, and journalists and whoever's making these articles, that Toronto would be getting another team. I go to look up a little bit about what we're talking about before we come on the show, and this idea has been tossed around multiple times over years and years and years. I think Toronto could do it, but like you say, there's other stops to make before you get there.
I think so. So I'm not discouraging it, but just hold the brakes on it for a while. Seattle and other cities will come in place first. Dave McKeag, Alex Parr. We're going to take our break. When we come back, you're going to notice something different about Alex. I'm going to see if you can notice it, and you can comment below with that. But when we come back, we have a very special guest coming on the show, and it is the one and only Olympic gold medalist, Brad Jacobs. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Dave McKeag, rejoined by Alex Parr. And we got a special guest who's new to the Game Sports Show. He's obviously known in town and throughout the curling world, obviously. Brad Jacobs. Brad, how you doing?
Very good. Thanks for having me, boys.
Definitely. I'm very happy to be able to join us. It's actually funny how we got connected to get you on the show. We ran into each other downtown, and then I said, hey, I got to get you on the show. Then we exchanged phone numbers, and then now you're here on the show. Obviously, we've met each other outside of the show a couple times through our mutual friend and your neighbor, I think, correct?
Soon to be
neighbor, and analyst of the show, Dustin Grondin, which I'm sure you're excited that he's going to be your neighbor, right?
Oh, he's going to be a great neighbor. He's a great guy. Known him for a long time. Awesome young family, just like ours. We need more young families like that out where we live. So I just keep pumping him up all the time. When are you going to finish that house, man?
It's been about 3 years. It's been going on 3 years. I know he's been having a lot of busy times, so it's good. Alex and myself, we always have a list of questions for you to ask, and we're very happy able to join us. So Alex, I'm going to slide to you first to ask the first question, my friend.
Awesome. So North Bay looked like a great time. Those fans loved you there. They were kind of the favorite choice, I'd have to say, no?
I think so. Yeah.
Right? What's it like playing in an atmosphere? Would you rather the fans maybe be cheering for somebody else, or do you prefer the support? Because some people like playing spoiler too.
Yeah, I think we like playing both.
Okay.
It's not too often that we actually get that kind of hometown crowd favorite feel. We have had a few events here in the Soo, curling events. We've been fortunate enough, and we won one, and that was fantastic. But anytime an event goes to anywhere really in Northern Ontario, we've kind of been, branded playing out of Northern Ontario for many years now. We're kind of the Northern Ontario boys, and going to North Bay was a lot of fun. We knew that, a couple years ago, the Women's Worlds was in North Bay.
Right, I was actually there for that.
Yeah, were you? Yeah, exactly. So you saw that atmosphere
my goodness.
And how phenomenal it was. And I had spoke to Jennifer Jones and Brent Lang. Jennifer Jones obviously won the Worlds there that year. She said it was phenomenal. So ever since we saw how good of an event North Bay put on at the Women's Worlds, we were really excited, all of us as curlers, all the teams, to go to North Bay. They certainly didn't disappoint. Again, at this Grand Slam, we had a blast. People came out in droves. There was lots of fans, lots of support, and a little bit more support, I'd say, for us when we were on the ice, which is always nice.
It's definitely your crew is obviously very passionate. I think the celebrations and everything of such that you do, it's almost like a hockey-esque kind of feel. You get that big shot, everyone's fist pumping and excited. Would that be fair to say that you guys are just extremely passionate, maybe one of the more passionate teams in the world of curling?
Yeah, I think that's a side of the sport that's been growing. For us, I'd say when we were kids, we did look up to teams in the sport of curling that were a lot like that, and even in other sports. Someone that we might talk about a little bit later is someone that comes to mind for me is Tiger Woods. Yeah. And how he kind of changed the game of golf, and he brought that passion and that attitude and the fist pumping and the excitement to the game of golf, which had never been.
It gets the interaction with the fans too, right? It just it gets them excited. It gets you more fan favorite nods too. They remember you for that. So that's definitely something you got to add to every sport, I feel.
Yeah, well, and it kind of goes both ways. I mean, sometimes especially in a sport like golf or curling, where it's probably typically a little bit more quiet or gentleman or etiquette, has that sort of feel to it. When teams come in and stir things up, some people like it and some people don't. It can be a little bit controversial, but that's okay. We kind of developed that side as we were growing up in the game as young men, and it started around the 2013, 2014 time. And you see a lot of teams now kind of celebrating their achievements and great shots more and more, both men and women. So it's
and
nice.
They should. It's just kind of the passion's got. It's hard to hold that back. How somebody can hold that back doesn't matter if it's a sport of being a gentleman or etiquette or anything like that. It's just kind of you got to show that passion and excitement.
Well, if you're into it, you got to let it.
Let it out. Don't bottle that up.
Absolutely.
Definitely don't bottle.
And I think people, when they buy their ticket to an event, they want to see the personalities. They want to see those big celebrations because those are the idols that they're looking up to. Yeah. Now we see another generation coming up in the way with going back to the Masters now. Team Dunstone maybe eliminated you a little earlier than you wanted, but before we were talking, the guy just won his first Masters or first Grand Slam of curling event. Was that great to see, or was it still a little salt on the wound because he ended up going all the way?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it just wasn't our week last week. Mm-hmm. We gave it all we had, and we left it all out there, and it didn't work out for us. But to have lost in the quarterfinal to the team who eventually went on to win, that makes it feel a little bit easier, I would say. Those guys were really on a roll that week, and I think it started in the first game of that event where they made a really big shot to win that game, and kind of continued on that momentum and that highlight reel throughout the entire week. So what can you say? You gotta hand it to them. They played great. They obviously got all the necessary breaks. They made a ton of big highlight reel shots, and they went on to close out the event and win. So hats off to them, and they're going to be tough going forward.
Mm-hmm. So, you had an addition to your team, Mark Kennedy. So how are you preparing for that addition to have Mark on the squad and kind of change things up a little bit?
Yeah, we're really excited to have Mark. Yeah. It's brought a little bit of what doesn't he bring? Yeah. He brings so much to our team. He's got a ton of experience, just a great attitude. He's a great person. He brings a fresh new perspective. He's a very talented athlete. He's got a ton of athleticism and a super high curling IQ. That guy, he's a curling machine. We're blessed to have him. And we're grateful that he's on our team, and we're just having a lot of fun. We're learning a lot from him. I think he's learning a thing or two from us as well. And we're really still very early into this team. We've only played 3 events together so far this year. We're still working on things and trying to figure things out and kind of establish a little bit of a new identity with Mark. So it's a work in progress, and we're having fun with that.
And you brought Mark out for the Canada Cup, which you guys actually ended up going on to win. Mm-hmm. Now, Mark wasn't really doing a whole lot of curling. Do you think maybe that if you hadn't won that tournament, maybe he wouldn't have come out of semi-retirement, I guess I should say?
Right. So actually, I've had conversations with Mark about that one, and when he stepped away from the game, he had a kind of a list of reasons why he wanted to do that. One of the things that it did for him, though, stepping away for that year was kind of gave him a little bit of a new perspective on the game. He was able to watch the sport a little bit more, kind of find that fire within himself and that love for the game that he's always had, just kind of rediscovered it. He knows that this is this is what he loves to do, this is what he wants to do. And lo and behold, we just needed a player, and one of the best guys, I'll be biased and say the best guy on the planet was available, so we're pretty lucky.
Absolutely.
Now, what's up next for the team Brad Jacobs? What's coming up next for events that fans could check into?
Yep, so we leave tomorrow. We're heading to another Grand Slam. So pretty short turnaround from the last one. We're heading out to Pictou, Nova Scotia. So never been there before. We've been out to Nova Scotia a few times, but never to Pictou. So looking forward to it. These Grand Slam events are big. They're big for our season. You know, you got the top 15 men's and women's teams in the world. Everyone's tough. You know, you get an opportunity every time you go out and play in those events to see what you're made of and compete against the best in the world. So we're looking forward to that and continuing to just compete hard in these things, and hopefully we can win a few. And
this Coyote Tour Challenge is the one coming up next. Defending champions.
Yes.
A little bit of an extra chip on your shoulder?
Yeah, so Coyote, actually, they're one of our sponsors for our team. One of our major sponsors.
So you better perform then.
Exactly, yeah, so a couple added, bits of pressure there. Not only that Coyote, and they're actually really involved in the Grand Slam of curling as a sponsor now, and with our team. So we're grateful for that, and we're defending champions of the Tour Challenge. So we want to certainly go there and put on a great show and make a lot of shots, and hopefully it's our week.
Definitely. Now, a couple things I want to get to before we get going to let you go, Brad, is one perspective with the future of curling, and development in Sault Ste. Marie with curling. Do you see a lot of positive and development there? Then the second part of my question is your charity golf tournament. I know you're a big passion with golf and everything, so I wanted to give you the floor with your charity golf tournament as well, which I know passed, obviously, because we're getting into winter season, but if you want to discuss that as well.
Yeah, sure. So, we hang out at the curling club all the time, virtually every day. So we get to see, the members, and we get to see kind of what's going on. And it's really exciting what's going on, I think, at the curling club this year. We've got a new manager, and we got Matt Mann, who's, they're both, Dave and Matt are really working with some of the schools and local businesses to try to get some more awareness around curling, get the kids out there. We've seen a lot of kids just in the short month that the curling club's been open, new kids in classrooms out at the curling club trying out the sport. So that's a positive sign, and hopefully we can do well on our end and help out every once in a while when we can, when we're home. And at least if we're keeping that awareness and staying on TV and staying relevant and winning, maybe we can inspire a few kids out there to want to come and join the sport as well. So I think the future's bright. We can always be doing better. I think that's every sport. Every sport. Try to get your kids out, get them active. I'm a young parent now, myself and my wife, and so is EJ, and trying to get our kids involved in everything as much as we possibly can is pretty important. So, and then on the golf tournament side of things, we have our charity golf event, which we're always super excited about. We just started to kind of divvy out the proceeds, the donations from last year, everything that we raised. And we'll start meeting pretty soon to discuss what's going to go on with that for next year. But it's a great event. Obviously, we'll be doing it next July. So we're not thinking about it too much, although we will start, having meetings about that in the new year and planning and hopefully fill that event. And every year we just try to raise as much money as possible for the Sioux Area Hospital, our Team Jacobs Follow Your Dreams bursary with Algoma University, and junior curling and junior golf. But one of the things we're really proud of is we've actually pledged to donate $100,000 to the Sioux Area Hospital.
Awesome.
And I believe we're somewhere around the $70,000 mark. So we've got to keep this event going.
That's awesome.
And who knows? Maybe $100,000 is where we stop, or maybe we keep going. But we're having a lot of fun with it right now. We get great participation from the community, local businesses, and just friends and family, and anybody who wants to play. It's full every year. Everybody has a blast, so we'll keep going.
See, that's awesome. Great stuff. And Brad, obviously, unfortunately, our time has ran out here. But you know what? We're going to have you on our radio side of the show in the coming week after your event is complete. So we'll continue this discussion with more curling talk and obviously more golf, because obviously I want to get you some golf discussion as well. So I want to say thank you for coming on the show here today, and we'll see you in the radio side, and hope you had a good time.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You're listening to the Game Sports Show. We'll be right back with more sports talk. Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. As the bumper stated too, we've got more hockey talk, and we have a bit more hockey talk even throughout the show with the Thunderbirds and all that to get to. But right now, we're going to get to part 3 here about the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds and the LSSU Lakers. But right now, we got lots to talk about the Hounds. So we're going to go there first. They had a big announcement on Twitter yesterday through the OHL Hound Power and through their Instagram page as well. You can check all that out. And also on the Game Sports Show Facebook page at the Game Sports Show, and Soo Online posted another fantastic article about that today. So lots of news in regarding to this with the Hounds captaincies and the alternate captains changing. Now, I put the slogan that they made capitalized alternations. Captain size alternations. Thank you. Captain size alternations. My mind had to kick in and rewind there. So either way, or way you want to look at it, this is pretty big news. Not just because we have a new captain with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, but this also puts the question mark or the exclamation point on Barrett Hayton. Not too sure what you want to go with on that one, but Ryan O'Rourke was named captain. Cole McKay, Jacob Laguerriere, and Rory Kearns was named the alternate captains. Alex.
Yeah, and today I was lucky enough to get some time to be able to speak with John Dean about why the decisions were made like they were, and I believe we're going to go take a look at that right now.
Yep.
So John, quickly tell me, when did the process start coming to fruition when you knew you needed to pick some captains?
Well, I think it was a process right at the beginning of the year, to be honest. One of those situations where at the beginning of the year, to be really frank, quite honestly, we weren't sure whether, Barrett Hayton was coming back or not, and we still don't know. But obviously, we wanted to see who would step up to the forefront and become leaders. And over the course of the first 16 or 17 games here, we decided it was time to make a choice and make sure that, probably especially through this tough little stretch we're going through, that we had leaders that the rest of the team could look to.
Can you talk any more about Barrett Hayton, just because what happens if he does come back? If you can't answer that, that's fine.
Yeah, no, to be honest, haven't even thought about it. Dealing with the 23 guys that are in the room right now, and if that comes to fruition, if that happens, it'll be something that we'll address then.
And was not having a coach to start the season something that you weren't a fan of, or was that something that you thought maybe something needs to kind of come to fruition, maybe take some time to sizzle before you knew what the right choice?
Yeah, there's a lot of teams now that actually don't even name a captain at all. I think there's a lot of guys in there that right now don't have letters and could easily be assistant captains or captains at this hockey club. So I'm not a huge believer that you have to necessarily have someone, a beacon that you have to look to. We're a big believer in our group that everyone should take a turn to fly the plane, and everyone should want to fly the plane on their own and be leaders in their own right. So I think given the times and circumstances, I think it's nice to have a group that we can look to and address on a consistent basis. But I think every team is unique, and I don't necessarily think that you have to have a captain named right away, or if at all.
And with Ryan, what was something you see on his day-to-day way that he just carries himself that you thought, this is our guy?
Yeah, Ryan is a special kid. His work ethic's exceptional. You can tell that his number one focus is to be a good human being and then a good hockey player second. And he has all the traits of a good Sioux Greyhound leader. He's competitive on the ice. He's dignified and carries himself well off the ice. He likes to make plays with the puck, but he also likes to compete away from the puck. So I just think everything about him, and most importantly, quite honestly, he's just a good person. And anytime you have a good person leading your group, I like your chances.
And does him having potentially quite a few years left in the OHL something that helped his case to become captain?
It might have had a small contributing factor, but the truth be told is I think all the characteristics we just discussed is probably the most important. We wanted the best guy for the job, and Ryan O'Rourke is the best guy for the job.
And Ryan said right off the start, too, he's not going to change anything about his game. Is that exactly what you want him to do?
Well, that's a great leadership quote right there. It's there's a young guy who understands that he doesn't need to be any different, just be himself, and that's going to carry the team the way he wants to. You don't want a leader to put a letter on his jersey and all of a sudden become somebody different. So pretty smart answer by our now captain of the Sioux Greyhounds.
Great stuff.
Absolutely.
We've got a great interview with John and also with yourself.
Yeah, I was just very thankful for the turnaround time. I contacted them really quick. They're like, yep, we got you. In, out, boom. And like you said, too, John Dean's so well spoken to. Absolute pleasure to talk to. And it seems that they're looking ahead with this decision, too. Yeah. I was kind of curious myself if Ryan O'Rourke's age was a determining factor in it, which I still think it may have played into it a little bit, because now you're going to have a guy leading the team for the next 2, 3, maybe 4 years.
I like that. See, now, you know what I like, too, in the background? You had analysts on our show. Craig Hartsburg was in the background there. We had Wayne Gretzky in there. There's a lot. I love that wall of fame, if you will. And I think Ryan O'Rourke, if all things go well, his name can be stamped right on that as well. But with the Greyhounds right now, I want to give a shout out to Jerry Litzcomb as well. He was very responsive, as you mentioned, with getting stuff organized for the Game Sports Show. There, obviously, you can hear him on Rock 101 with his game days. There, Jerry does a great job, and obviously he's one of the friends of the show as well because of our connection with ESPN. Just everything all ties together. Now, Alex, we're gonna move forward to talk more Hounds here in regards to something that he didn't really jump into a lot, did John Dean? But with Barrett Hayton. We think right now we're still waiting official confirmation. Like something might happen while we're currently recording. Something might happen tonight. Something might happen tomorrow. We're not too sure. But Barrett Hayton may be staying with Arizona. It almost seems like he's going to stay there. But at the same time, I think what would be wise is if Arizona sends him back, he goes to the World Juniors, he runs the show at the World Juniors, but doing so on a potentially different OHL team. The Hounds right now are 6-10 this season so far, 6-10-1 to be exact. They've had the start that they want to be 4-0, but they've been 2-8-1 since then.
5-game losing streak's not where any team's really going to want to be. But back to Barrett Hayton, he's in a precarious spot where he's the extra skater traveling with the team. Brad Richardson's just getting back. He's the fourth line center usually on the Arizona Coyotes. And with him healthy and Barrett Hayton in the box, you're not really going to learn a whole lot if you're not playing hockey. They also don't think he's going to learn a lot if he goes back to the OHL. He's already been there. He's already dominated. He's too good for the OHL, but just a little bit too skill shy of making it to the NHL full-time.
And that comes to maturity.
And it very well does. And I also think that maybe Barrett Hayton doesn't have much to learn with the Greyhounds, but what about a Memorial Cup run? You can definitely learn something from going deep into the playoffs, and I think he may come back, and I think the Greyhounds are already looking at a life without Barrett Hayton.
And I think they won't say that. Maybe we're incorrect, okay? But I'll say right now that if he does come back, something almost has to be arranged. And I figured that the Hounds would have been a team that would have made a decent run in the playoffs. There's maybe a second-round team based on their start, the potential of this lineup. But I may be eating my words this year. They might not even make the playoffs this year. But it's still so early. Yeah. We're hoping here, especially as being Sault Ste. Marie Greyhound fans, let alone just media analysts, that they make the playoffs. But either way, it's been a tough start.
Yeah, it's early. And I mean, if you take the Greyhounds and you throw them over to the Eastern Conference, they're in 6th place. Are we having this conversation at the same time? Absolutely not.
No.
They're on a disgusting slide of 1-8-1 in their last 10. Do you think the Greyhounds are that bad?
No.
I don't think the Greyhounds are that bad. I don't think you guys think the Greyhounds are that bad. I think there's a lot of change going on in this locker room right now. There's a lot of things that you're going to have to get in place to make sure that you can be a team that's successful going forward. And there's going to be some road bumps along the way. But this management knows what they're doing to make sure that they get to where they need to be.
For sure. Then, as the screen alluded to earlier, the Hounds lost their previous 2 games this weekend. 10-2 was one of the games. Now, it was not too good for the home faithful there. But the Sioux Greyhounds do play this upcoming weekend. They play Sarnia on Friday and Flint on Saturday. And there's someone on Sarnia who's been real hot. Ryan Roth, he's a former Greyhound. You know, we got a pretty good package of picks for Ryan Roth. And in terms of picks, I should backtrack a little bit and say how Hayden would get first-round picks for the Hounds.
He will.
The Hounds don't really, a lot of the OHL don't move first-round picks. It's going to be prospects that would be moved, so I should make sure I change that. But either way, speaking of trades, you know, Pitlick, O'Rourke, McKay, Karanins are not really going anywhere, in my opinion.
Those are the guys that you kind of have a good feeling to know that they're staying where they are.
Yeah, I think so too. And now I think Pekka, even Prop, somehow, maybe be names that might be getting moved, especially in particular with Hayden. So now, will they make the playoffs? It's still too early in terms of discussing that. But the Hounds this weekend hoping to get back to the win column. Now, before we go to break, I want to quickly get something with LSSU men's hockey. And the Lakers win both games this past weekend against Ferris State, 5-4 and 4-3 against Ferris State. And that was at the Taffy Able Arena. And inside the Taffy Able Arena, it was a nice packed house there. You know, they did a good job supporting. And the LSSU Lakers improved to 4-6.
Okay.
this year. You know, they're 2-6, 2-0 to start the year, lose 6 straight.
Played
But
a
then
lot of tough
good,
competition.
tough teams. But either way, losing those to the top teams in the country, LSSU was able to get back in the winning column. LSSU will be on the road this upcoming weekend in Bemidji State. 8:07 on Friday, 7:07 on Saturday. They return home next weekend against Michigan Tech. Dave McKeag, Alex Parr, the Game Sports Show. We got a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Dave McKeag, Alex Parr. You're here back inside On TV Studios. And more sports talk for the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. And continuing our hockey talk. As always, lengthy hockey talk, especially locally. And we're going to go first with the Sault Junior Greyhounds and the Sault Indians AAA team over in Sault, Michigan, coached by Patrick Caracato, former Thunderbird coach. Actually, I must inform as well as Jamie Henderson also has ties with the Thunderbirds as well. But with the AAA Indians, I want to make sure that I promote them a little bit extra that Scott Nason did yesterday on ESPN 1400. This past weekend, the Indians met up with Oakland Junior Grizzlies, the 30th ranked team. Okay. And they ended up playing them and losing both games by a score of 4-2. And both games are very hard fought by the Indians, very lot of action, fierce entertainment as well. And they just couldn't pull away with the victory. And the Indians will regroup and get back on the road this upcoming weekend as they take on Fox Motors in Grand Rapids. You know what? The Indians have had a pretty positive season thus far to this point.
Yeah, and 4-2 losses can be quite the story. They can be a lot. It could be 2 empty netters. It could be a 4-0 blowaway where a team gets back a couple 2 goals. There's a lot more to be had in a 4-2 final.
Yep, definitely. And then the Indians were against a very highly ranked team, but the Indians are playing some great hockey this year as well. But another team that's playing some very good hockey, and they win 2 out of 3 this past weekend as they, in the Great North Midget League, they went over the weekend. The Junior Greyhounds were on the road for 3 games as they played Sudbury on Friday and then North Bay on Saturday for a pair of games against North Bay. And they obviously split the games there, but against Sudbury, going into the previous weekend, they're now 2-3-1. Okay, and the Hounds are having a great season as they are. And you know what? I really think that Jamie Henderson's got the Tides in the right direction there with the Sault Junior Greyhounds. You know what? It's a great start, 10-3-1 record. Okay, and next league action for them is November the 22nd, so they're going to be idle this weekend, but they're on the road against Sudbury. Once again. And the Great North Midget League, the Sault Ste. Marie Junior Greyhounds have, they had a lot of posts. They wanted to get some players in there and a lot of question marks around this team and how this team was going to do based on last year having a little bit of difficulty. But picking up 2 out of 3 on the road this past weekend is fantastic.
10-3-1 in total, that's fantastic. But I'm kind of curious what you would say because they do have a very long break now. When you had long breaks like that between your games, what was something that you did to make sure that you're staying sharp, your skills were where they needed to be, and you weren't resting too much?
See, given the age group especially, it's different. When you're playing AAA midget, something that I actually played AA midget. Okay, so but either way, it was very competitive when I was playing as well as a lot of names I played with. Brett Finley, who now plays professional over in Europe, just to name a couple names that played with. And either way, when you always had long layovers, if it's AAA hockey, if it's AA hockey. And the best way to do it is actually relying on your coaching staff. And here's why. Because they have a regimen for you to follow. Curfew, if it may be, maybe it's a diet, maybe it's training, especially now. Back when I was playing, I was able to have sloppy joes before games and you'd be okay to go on the ice. Okay, nowadays, a little bit different. They follow a better diet routine. And Jamie Henderson especially does such a great job in the community. His involvement with the team, his Facebook uploads. You can check out Sault Junior Greyhounds on Facebook. He does a fantastic job there. And that's the big thing that you rely on breaks. Okay? If you look at a team and you're on a week or 2 layoff, you want to make sure you're having hard, intense practices. Okay, in between you're practicing on systems that you struggled on previously, and you have practices that everyone gets to gel together and maintain chemistry. That's my little piece of advice that I would see. Now, I'm not a coach any longer in my days, but I know Henderson from a coaching perspective. I'm sure he'll do just all that. Now, Sault College,
Coach McKeag on the scene.
In the flesh, yeah, he's gone now. Sault College Cougars. We got to give them a little update here as well. 2 big wins against Davenport this past weekend, 10-2 and 5-3. Were the wins there for the Sault College Cougars hockey team. And they'll travel to Liberty this upcoming weekend to play against Liberty. That is at 7 p.m. on Friday and 1:30 on Saturday. And you got to check out that Sioux College bus wrapped by our friends at Compass and Dumansky. Oof, just mint.
Yeah, when he put that in my notes, I thought somebody went over my shoulder and typed it in, but no, he literally has in the notes, oof, just mint.
Just mint. I wish I could say other ones, but that is just mint. Fantastic bus work there. And if you can't see it, well, you have to wait for them to upload on their Facebook page and us to share it. But now the Sioux College Cougars, they've had a good start to their season as we expected. Trine was a little bit of a difficult challenge for them. But going against Liberty will be a tough matchup for them as well, I think, going into this weekend. So Sioux College is hoping to continue their little roll that they are currently on. And they also had great success with their pass dinner as well as this early in the week. So I can thank everyone that supported Sioux College Cougars. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram, Sioux College Cougars Athletics. And they'll give you all the week at a glance. They have great uploads on there. It's well rehearsed there on there. So the NOJHL.
Yes.
Quickly going into that. The Sioux Thunderbirds, the Sioux Eagles, and the Blind River Beavers are teams that we cover here with the NOJHL in particular, as we like to discuss the whole league as well. But the Sioux Thunderbirds won 3 games this past week, 2 against Elliott Lake and 1 against Kirkland. Okay, they win 11-3, and the Thunderbirds won 4-3 this past Sunday as well. And the Sioux Thunderbirds in general are back into the win column. It's been inconsistent this year for them. Injuries, suspensions. All around issues.
A rough start, but a nice 3-game winning streak that they can enjoy. They're sitting at 25 points, only 4 points back of the next place team.
Yeah, Rayside Balfour.
There we go. Now this is the team we're used to seeing all the time. The team that's up there in the standings, competing and battling hard. They are not far away from potentially overtaking first place. A lot of things will have to happen to make sure.
And the Beavers are really hot.
But you might be laughing if I said the Thunderbirds had a chance at first place just even a couple weeks ago. So now to even say that in the same sentence is a nice feeling.
It is. Now this week they play Wednesday, which is tomorrow at 7 o'clock against Elliott Lake, and that'll be at home there. Now the Sioux Eagles were 1-2 this past weweek, 3 games this past weekend at home. And then there was against, there are 3 games this weekend, sorry.
Yes.
So they were on the road this past week, and they're 1-2 for 3 games. But the 3 games this upcoming week, they're at home for 2 at Espanola and Elliott Lake before traveling to Espanola on Sunday. So kind of a home-and-home against Espanola before in between playing there against Elliott Lake. The game on Friday is at 7:30, Saturday at 7, Sunday at 2 o'clock. All heard on ESPN 1400 with our friend Scott Nason. The Eagles looking to try to continue to roll. They've been kind of 500 this year.
Yeah.
Doug LaProd's done a great job with that team, though. Bruno Bragnolo, the GM of the Sioux Eagles, have that team going in the right direction. Watch out for those pesky Eagles. They've always been a very exciting team to watch. Now, the Blind River Beavers, another team there. They're 2-0 this past week, and the Beavers continue to roll forward. A big home-and-home matchup, though, against Rayside Balfour this upcoming weekend. Saturday at 7 in Blind River, and Sunday at 6:30 in Rayside.
Wow, that is going to be a battle of some heavyweights in the NOJHL. If you want to see the top action this league can bring you, this is going to be one of the games that can do that.
Now, Rayside Balfour, David Bowen goes to the QMJHL in Drummondville. Okay, but the Rayside Balfour making a move as well, bringing in a goalie from the OHL. You could check out, actually, Randy Russin posted a very good article on that Hockey News North, so check that. I'll give the traffic over to him there for that. But the Sudbury, Rayside Balfour, whatever you want to call them, they're making moves this year. David Bowen's a big part of that team for Rayside as they sit in second place in their division. Blind River first, the Thunderbirds third, and the Eagles in fourth. But that Wasson on the other side is still looking absolutely unstoppable in the other division.
Are they going to win? Win it all?
They're favorites right now, and rightfully so, with only 1 loss. It's very, very impressive indeed. Now, the one thing I want to get to lastly, kind of wrapping up our hockey talk, I want to get into discussing Algoma University.
Okay.
Not really hockey at Algoma University at this current time, but Algoma University is in the position of having basketball season going on, and they had their soccer season conclude. Okay, they had 2 losses this past weekend at Western. Very tough team. Okay, a little bit for the women's and the men's. They both played against Western, and it was a tough weekend. As a sheet there will explain, 116 to 67 on Saturday, then 70 to 59. That's a pretty tough weekend there for the Thunderbirds men's team. But you know what? Even the women's team had a tough go against Western. Very powerful team.
Oh my goodness, like we say all the time, it's just look at the school's population sizes, and that's going to be huge, especially location too. A lot more people like to go down south for their schooling as opposed to the cold, frigid north of Northern Ontario. So it does take away from the talent that we can possibly get, but to watch the team get blown out in the first game and only lose by 11 points the next game, that's what you want to see in these games.
Progression, especially with a school like Algoma U as we continue to ascend in the right direction, trying to increase that popularity. This weekend, Algoma U will be against Brock and McMaster. They have two different gyms going on there between the men's and the women's. Okay, so you can check out their schedule of the Algoma University schedule there with the basketball teams online. But at McMaster and Brock, okay, there'll be men's and women's play on the road this weekend. So I'm Dave McKeag, he's Alex Parr. That wraps up a lot of our local perspective. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we have In the Pocket. And we'll see if we'll catch a couple touchdowns. Now that's a in the pocket bumper if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, we caught you jamming your head there, just bobbing up and down.
Yeah, I got to give you credit to that. That is some pretty
Hey.
top notch. I like that stuff. Hopefully you like that. Give a comment below if you like that more than the previous bumper. But moving into In the Pocket, transitions us nicely. The way why we do this at the end of the show for our Tuesday show is because on Wednesday we're at Sports Center and we have a majority of it is NFL and
Yes.
local football discussion. So it's a perfect way to segue us into there. And for In the Pocket, we don't have as much news as we've had in previous weeks. Just a little update in terms of NASA. Snowy field conditions in Sudbury have forced postponement of Saturday's Northern Ontario Secondary Schools Association, which is NASA, junior football final. The Sioux Superior High Steelhawks were slated to face Sudbury St. Catharines Cardinals at 2 p.m. and start at James Jerome Sports Complex. The game has been rescheduled for a week from Saturday in Nickel City with the time to be determined. So now Thursday, November 28th, Cora plays the winner of NASA for the Northern Bowl of OFSA Bowl Series.
Yeah, they'll
Make
be
sure I
going
said
up
that
against Central Ontario.
Central Ontario. So CASA. There we go.
CASA, NASA,
CASA.
OFSA, you
I'm
name
gonna
it.
make sure I almost said Castle. So CASA.
Definitely
There you
not
go.
Castle.
There you go. Now that is the local football update. Make sure you follow. You have Core Football, Superior High Junior team. Best of luck to those teams, but especially follow at Core Football on Instagram. Tommy Annett does a fantastic job. A good friend of the show is Tommy Annett, and of course, the analysts of the show, Dustin Grondin and Matt Primo. They're involved with the staff there with Core. It's going to be a very exciting run for the senior team, indeed, as well. Now we got NFL to discuss, though. Okay, and hallelujah, the Patriots lost the football game.
It happened.
I was
Finally.
wrong, but I thought they were going to go 16-0 this year. I guess it's not happening. The Baltimore Ravens defeated the New England Patriots this past week. And now, I got to say that the Patriots are a good football team, but the Ravens exploited a lot of weaknesses in this game.
So, I mean, that could lead to someone being able to determine, like, maybe the Patriots aren't the end-all, be-all of this NFL season.
Everyone's going to be watching that tape.
Everybody who is not a Patriots fan is celebrating, running through the streets, happy that the Patriots aren't going to go perfect again, because that's what the beginning of the season looked like. So I think I'm happy about that. He's happy about that. Sorry, Patriots fans.
I think a lot of people, you know what? I just want to see a different winner this year, just from a sport like host and fan perspective. It'd be nice to talk about another team winning opposed to Brady, adding another ring to his already infinity gauntlet of fingers.
Yeah.
Actually has more. But I'll say right now that the San Francisco 49ers are, and I love this picture right there, Brady. You know what? I remember him doing that exact pose against the Falcons. He was down 28-3. I don't know if he sold his soul to the devil at that current point because they came back and won that football game. So you know, when
turned
Brady
that game
does that,
off.
I don't know. I think something's going on. But San Francisco 49ers might be the most exciting team in football right now. Sorry, Patriots, you're still there, but I got to give love to the 49ers right now.
Who would have thought? We say this every week, but they still find a way to win week in and week out.
Yeah. Now, Lions hurt their playoff chances. That was a dagger to the Lions. That was a big dagger. I know Scott Nason and Butch Davis touched to it a lot yesterday on our radio portion on ESPN 1400. But you know what? I got to give a little shake there to the Lions. They didn't make improvements to make this football team better at the deadline when they could have. They need to improve that running game. That's the first thing that they could have done at an affordable rate. And Stafford is a good quarterback. I don't know why people shoot him down. I think he is good. Is he Aaron Rodgers? No. Is he Tom Brady? No, he's not. Okay, but at the end of the day, he's still a very good quarterback. He's got an arm. You give him weapons, he's going to get the job done. What weapon has he had since Megatron? Really think about it. Jones is not a weapon. Golden Tate wasn't a weapon. Galladay isn't a weapon. Okay, and Johnson as a running back is not a weapon. They need one good more receiver, and they need to have a back. I'm surprised they didn't look at Josh Gordon, and I'm surprised they didn't look at Melvin Gordon from the San Diego Chargers. Now, I know they're both kind of drama, but you know what? Maybe Detroit can use a little bit of drama in there. Matt Stafford can pull out his leadership skills. But I don't know about you, but I think that team could have made improvements. They just didn't capitalize.
Yeah, all of trade deadlines seem to be pretty quiet this year. But when you're sitting 3-4, halfway through the season, I think the writing's on the wall for the Lions. And I'm not going to rip on the Lions. I'm not going to rip on the Lions as hard as Dave is. So if the internet wants to hate someone, maybe direct a little bit more to him than me this time around. But yeah, Lions, I think the ship sailed on you making the playoffs this year, and I hate to say it.
Tough loss to Oakland. Now the Dolphins get their first win of the season against the Jets. I didn't think that was going to happen. Goodness, congratulations, Dolphins. You might not get the first overall pick if you keep winning, so maybe you should hold, because I know your fans want you to get that first overall pick.
Pump the brakes a little bit
on
that one,
Pump the brakes on
Dolphins.
the wins. Just kidding. And you know what's good to see? I don't want to see a team go 0-4. That really is very unfortunate for an organization. Now, the cat running on the field. We got a couple more things we'll get to before we get to our thumbs up. The cat running on the field. And I believe we have that clip.
We do have that clip. I mean, it was so funny. It took the whole entire internet by storm, right? The cat's just peeling down the field. Did you see the different commentary teams doing the commentary for the cat? On the 10,
actually watching the game live.
Touchdown for the cat. And I mean, and I think if anybody's cursed, it's both of those teams. And to add a black cat across the mix, I mean, yeah, I think that's kind of symbolic on the seasons both the Giants and the Cowboys are having.
And I love the ESPN in the bottom corner there as well.
Of course.
Look at that out there. But he's at the almost the 10 there. You got to get there. He runs better than the Seattle Seahawks at that close.
That guy was just picking his nose that they cut to. And then wait. They're not going to see it, but either
Love
way.
it. It's fantastic. That thing is all over the place. He's actually, you can pick him up on fantasy. He might be still available in your league.
Maybe the Detroit Lions could use him.
Yeah, there you go. Now, I'll give two quick things before we let the listeners and viewers go of the show. The upcoming game of the week, I had the Seattle Seahawks and the 49ers. What about yourself?
I had the same one. He's going to act like he picked it before me, but no, I came in here and I had to pick it. Of course, I mean, the battle of a 7-2 team against an 8-0. You're looking at the fourth best offense in the Seahawks against the first best defense in the San Francisco 49ers. What a matchup.
It's going to be a great matchup. Now, the last thing I want to say to is a thumbs up for the week, and I got to go to my thumbs up that I've already repeated from yesterday to the Toronto Maple Leafs organization and players. And I must read this. I want to make sure I read it correctly. In particular with Mitch Marner and John Tavares, Cade Foster had his birthday where his friends that were invited did not show up to his birthday. And the Maple Leafs reached out and sent birthday wishes to Cade after his father, Jason, had put a nice little message on Twitter and Instagram, and that's where Marner and Tavares were involved. The Game Sports Show did a little shout out to his birthday as well. Let's give a little shout out there, which is great to see the worldwide Reb come together.
Yeah.
As this, you know what, people can think of this as a sad thumbs up, but at the end of the day, it's a feel-good story at the end, and the Maple Leafs provided a pretty cool surprise to him as well. Maybe he's going to go see a game. I'll let the Leafs have the full credit for that release on what they're going to do. But thumbs up to the Maple Leafs, especially Marner and Tavares, and all the World Web having over 25,000 plus mentions on for his birthday. I am not a fan of the bullying situation, and I love to see what they have done with the Toronto Maple Leafs towards Cade there.
And I've got a thumbs up as well for this week. Something I have never seen before, and this has to be one of the most ridiculous inventions I've ever seen, but one of the most useful ones. The Oregon Ducks, the football team. Familiar with them?
Favorite football team.
Really? Well,
NCAA-wise.
yes. Now, they have a pop-up porta potty on their sidelines now. Why has no football team ever thought of that? I saw that once, and I just thought that was too funny not to mention.
Love that. Oregon Ducks, my favorite NCAA team. But I'm Dave. He's Alex. I want to say thank you for joining us here on the Game Sports Show. We'll be back tomorrow on the radio broadcast and from Sports Center. Thanks for listening on Sioux Online on TV on the Game Sports Show. And I'm here to remind you to have a great night and booyah.